Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream tonight. I'm your host, Ashton Forbes. Welcome, 4Orbsies. Nice to see you guys. Hope you guys are doing well this evening. We got a big stream tonight. You guys know the main event that's going down tonight. We've got Elon Musk, Donald Trump. They're going to be on X Space. I'm going to be joining. We're going to be doing our best to try to get them to comment on technology that's being suppressed. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen, but, you know, it's worth a shot. Come on, where's this? There we go. Okay. I'll go ahead and pull up. Let's see. Where is my question? I'm going to copy and paste my question into the chat for tonight to see if they'll answer it. My question has 57,000 views though, so it's not bad. So if you guys haven't been following along, what is Ashton's question? You may be wondering. Well, here it is. I wonder if I can get this so that I maybe mess with my views later tonight as well. Question: how will classified technology we're hiding change the world if it was made public? Interesting. Also, it's martini time, so if you guys have a drink, if you don't have a drink, go grab a drink. We got 8 minutes until this thing's supposed to kick off. I'm going to see if I can find the X space for it. It should already be out there somewhere. Martini is cooked. I'm going to be putting some olives together here for us as well. So there you go. There's your question on that. Let's answer a few questions in the chat. I will answer some Malaysian Airlines questions. Mostly what I'll say right off the bat, guys, is if you're new, if you haven't been following along, this group, we call ourselves the 4Orbsies because my last name is Forbes, and we think there might be a fourth orb that's not visible in the videos. The term is the vector of travel. Every question that you might ask has been answered and asked many times before. I don't mean this as to be offensive. I'm just saying that's just how it, a lot of the questions that get asked have been asked many times over. So if you are interested, I have posted all the answers. You just have to go through my Twitter highlights. You don't even have to go that far back. But questions like, why did they take this plane? Where did it go? What did they do with it? Et cetera, et cetera. But to answer the question down here at the bottom in terms of the orbs, I think the biggest update, two updates. First is that a couple weeks ago, I spoke to Billy Vincent, who is a former director. Why is this just like not? Okay, I see what's wrong. Okay. Sorry, one sec. Let me fix this. Billy Vincent's a former director of the security for the FAA. And I spoke to him, and like he had already kind of predicted the fire scenario many years ago, back when it happened. So it was interesting to talk to him about the reasons why and the similar events that are out there. Like UPS Flight 6 also didn't blow up, but it had a fire on board. Everybody ended up dying. In that case, it was a cargo plane, so there was only 2 people on board. The other update, though, related to the orbs, is that these orbs are what we would refer to as exotic vacuum objects, which are also known as ball lightning. Now, why is that interesting? Well, after this X Space tonight, we're going to watch this video that came on Project Unity's channel yesterday related to or from John Ramirez, former CIA. And he talks about the UFO phenomenon. He talks about his time in the CIA and the intelligence agencies. And the interesting thing is that he talks about that he had his own experience while he was on a commercial airliner while he saw plasma orbs. And he talks about balls of energy, plasma orbs, essentially, which I thought was really interesting. When I heard that, my ears peaked up because what he said is that like he has never seen any like flying saucers or anything like that, but he has seen these balls of energy. And the way he says is almost like we should be paying more attention to these balls of energy than we should be paying attention to flying saucers and little green men, which I thought reading between the lines is like, So I'm going to be very curious as to what your guys' thoughts are on the John Ramirez video that we watch after the stream tonight. Thank you, Suave Pebble, comedic genius. I'm glad you appreciate my comedy. Yeah, sometimes my comedy is like pretty dry. Sometimes I like to leave it like that. I was making a joke about Mary Tiles, Texas. If you don't know her, she's one of my favorite, female influencers on X. And she does like, I don't know, I think she's into GameStop or something like that. But she made a post about how she's a tiles influencer. And I said that she's one of my easily one of the top 5 tile influencers on X, which of course she's the only one. But that's my kind of humor, guys. And I also like the dark humor as well. John Ramirez must have signed NDAs, which means John has been approved by the CIA to speak. Apparently, in this interview, he says he wrote a book, and he expected his book to get redacted, and his book didn't get redacted at all. I think one thing people should keep in mind is that with respect to the classification process stuff, they don't always classify everything. And I think that's what's going on with the orbs and the videos as well. Is I think that these orbs don't get classified because they're just that secret. It's also kind of like why sometimes you don't patent something. Sometimes you don't patent things because you don't even want people to know that they exist. Patenting something isn't a guarantee. Like you usually patent something because other people know it exists and you want to protect that intellectual property. It's kind of the same when it comes to classifying stuff. It's like, yes, you want to classify something if it's going to get out there and you want to prevent people from getting it. So just something to think of and think about. Okay. Is the space already open? Let's take a look. Who's hosting the space? Oh, it's already open. Here we go. Oh boy, is it not working? Oh shit, is it not working, chat? Is the space working for anybody else? Is this gonna literally crash Twitter? Is this gonna crash Twitter? Also, guys, I can't get in. Yeah, I can't get in. Shit. What? Alien Girl deleted Twitter? What? No, Alien Girl. Oh, also, if anyone else has MH370 questions, drop them right now. I'm gonna go back to full screen until I get this figured out. Twitter might be down. There's another plane incident that I'm actually interested in, guys. So just for the record, there's this plane that crashed a few days ago, and apparently there was some researchers on it or something like that. People may wonder why haven't I looked into it, because I don't really care that much. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not really a big conspiracy guy, so I need like really hard evidence to dig into something like that. But I do think that we can shoot down any plane anytime we want. This is part of the reason why I'm terrified of flying. Like, we can knock down any plane any moment we want, and nobody will know at all. And so there was this plane. What is it called? Let me look it up. Somebody linked this to me. I'm gonna Twitter's like down. I'm gonna have to restart it entirely. Chinese airline, Chinese Eastern flight 5735 crashed in 2022. And they had video of it just nosediving into the ground from 28,000 feet. And there's just video, people videoed this thing just nosediving into the ground. And it's now 2 years later, and there's no explanation for why it just nosedived. And the Chinese won't say what's on the black boxes. And get this, the story that's going around, the narrative, even though there's no evidence to support it, pilot suicide once again. pilot suicide. It seems like pilot suicide is always the go-to narrative when people have no explanation for something. It's just, they just say it's pilot suicide. Must be pilot suicide, which is funny because I used to think that as well. And now that I know what I know about the technology, I'm like, anytime they try to say like pilot suicide, I'm like, I'm going to need to look at that a little harder. Also, Sabrine Hassenfelder followed me today. Oh man, this thing is just cooked, huh? This space has only been up for 12 minutes. Oh, it just crashed. Yeah. 3 million views. This is going to be the biggest space ever on Twitter. Going to be the biggest. Yeah. So anytime you guys hear this, like, yeah, the Chinese one, if that was Big Pooh or Hermes, yeah, the Chinese one, that one, I might have to make a post about it. When planes just like, because the one thing that the plane that crashed recently, like you can see it spiraling down. So it probably stalled out or whatever. But this Chinese one was just like straight down. And you know what it reminded me of? Thomas Bearden when he talked about the JAL flight in the 70s that crashed. I just thought, oh boy, man. Because you got to realize, guys, we can manipulate gravity. Like we literally have the technology already. I'm 100% sure. We've got the technology to manipulate gravity. So we can just cause turbulence to happen anywhere we want. You just shoot a couple radars with scalar beams, and you're going to cause major gravitational anomalies, which if you look into how planes autopilot works, planes autopilots use gyroscopes. And I actually, was it Hermes that sent it to me? Somebody sent me the video. I watched the video about it. We developed autopilot based on gyroscopes so that we would be able to determine exactly where the gravitational effect is. The gyroscope always stays positioned. So before the plane takes off, it would just basically get a baseline. Like if you're on a weighing thing, whatever, and you get the baseline. And then whenever it goes in the sky, it always stays oriented perfectly to the center of gravity of the Earth. Well, what happens if somebody hits you with a gravitational beam? Now your autopilot's just effed. Now your autopilot is screwed. And then the moment you fall into a dive that you can't escape out of, now your plane's going down. So not to freak people out, but I don't like flying on airplanes. And I got to fly on an airplane later this week. So just heads up, if any intelligence agencies are watching this right now from any country, I have nothing against any country. I have nothing against China. I have nothing against Russia. I have nothing against Iran or Israel. I want everybody to be friends. And my own country, please don't shoot me out of the sky. Thank you. Okay, let's see what's going on here. What is this? What is the deal with this shit? Okay, that looks like they restarted it. Let's see. Yeah, this is FUBAR, chat. It's FUBAR. Maybe we should watch the John Ramirez thing while we wait. Yeah, so great question by Moody here. If you can manipulate gravity, then you can manipulate time. Yeah, it's true. It's actually a true statement. Because technically you're manipulating space-time when you're manipulating gravity. And that's where things get really weird. So without any shadow of a doubt, you can travel to the future. That is 100% certain. Because time dilation is real. And all traveling to the future is changing your relative rate of time compared to the reference frame of time. So you can speed your time up or slow it down, however you want to look at it, to the point where one tick for you is equivalent to 100 ticks for everybody on the outside. Yeah, you can do that. The big question is, can you go back in time? And that I'm not sure about. I actually spend a lot of time sitting around thinking about like, you know, how would special relativity work if we like, you know, if I were to teleport to Mars and come back, how is that going to work out? Truly not sure. Yeah, I will post a link. Does the space work on phone, or is it broken on phone as well? It does not look like that will help me on my stream. Jesus, man. What is up with this? Can anyone confirm, is the X space working for anybody? Okay, it's broken on phone too. Got it. Feels bad. Feels bad. Okay. Yeah, this is how I think it works. I think you can see back in time, but you can't go back in time, if that makes sense. So let's do a quick time travel thought experiment. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to put this stuff back in the fridge. Give me 1 second. My martini is ready, chat. The martini is ready. Oh shit! Oh, this is getting set. This is getting sus. Okay. Let's talk about time, chat. Hello. I don't know what SEKs are, but I love it. Thank you for the SEKs, my man. Daniel Borg. Love it. 100 SEKs in the chat. Super chatting it. Okay, for Daniel, let's talk about time travel. So if I were to go through, let's just take the example of a Stargate. A Stargate is the same idea as a wormhole. It's just like stationary right there, like in the show Stargate. Oh, let me have a sip of my martini first so I can cook. Delicious. Okay. You go through your Stargate and you instantly appear on Mars. But before you do that, you go outside and you wave. You wave to Mars. So then I could go to Mars and I go through my Stargate and I go look up at the sky at Earth. And I have a telescope and I can see myself and I see myself waving. And I'm sitting there waving, but it takes 8 minutes to see myself waving. So basically I go look at Earth. I see myself walking outside, looking up and waving. Wow, did I travel in time there? No, not really. All I did was travel in distance. Now, if I were to go back through the Stargate, I'm not going back in time. I'm not going back to before I started waving. I'm always going back through the Stargate to a point after I came into after I went to Mars in the Stargate. So this is where the time travel scenario, like that's how I think it really works. Where it's like you can go and you can see back in time, but you can never actually go back in time. Because then you would imagine there's this like dilation effect happening there. To me, the bigger question is like when you go through it, are you going to show up even further in the future? And then this might mean that special relativity holds up if that's the case. Because the only thing is we can't violate live on the Tesla site, someone's saying, we can't violate causality. That's the thing. We know we can't violate causality. Otherwise, we're changing the past. If that's the case, then there must be multiple dimensions and stuff like that. So we'll see. Why can't a wormhole grant the potential to travel to the past? So hopefully that answers that question on why. Because you cannot violate causality. Because then you have the paradox where it's like, oh, you would have killed your grandfather or whatever before you were born. And we know that's not possible because you wouldn't exist. Okay, so what's going on with this space here? Okay, everybody's saying it's not working for them. Okay, Laura Loomer says it doesn't work. Hodge twins say it's not working. Keemstar says it's not working. So we're just sitting here waiting for this thing to go down, guys. Feels bad. Should we listen to a little John Ramirez? I want to ask the question about the technology and the science. Let me see. Where is my question? Crap, where's that question, chat? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna copy and paste this question into my notes over here. Okay, there it is. So once the space is back up, we'll ask our question in there. I'm gonna need everybody to either retweet it or like it or whatever you do. Okay. So there you go. So I don't think, yeah. So if it is possible to travel to the past, which at the moment I don't think it is, but I've had several smart people tell me that it is, then I think it would be like the show Dark. If you're not familiar with the show Dark, time travel in Dark is deterministic, which means if you travel to the past, you always travel to the past. Which means everything that's happening now, if somebody traveled to the past, is because somebody already did travel to the past previously. So you can't change the past. Everything always happens the way it happens, which is pretty weird to think about because it means, like, do we even have free will? Because it means if I were to figure out how to go back in time, everything that happened up until this point already happened because I went back in time. It's pretty bizarre. So if that time travel is possible, deterministic time travel is the only way I think it could be. And I'm not a big fan of thinking that there is no free will. So, yeah. Yeah, if you only stick your hand, there's no issue. I mean, there's no problem with special relativity if you only stick your hand through the Stargate. One half of your hand. The thing about a Stargate, it's like a doorway. It's like a doorway. Like you put your hand through the other side, one half you use on one side of the door, and the other half you use on the other side of the door. So it's kind of bizarre, but that's how the Stargate would work. Yeah. In fact, if you have the Stargate open, you might be transparent. You might be able to just see right through it. You might be just looking at Mars on the other side. Pretty bizarre. Okay. Check out Demystify Sci podcast. Okay. Sorry, I'm checking out what people say here. Yeah, and quantum entanglement is functionally the same as a wormhole. Quantum entanglement is. In fact, you could argue that quantum entanglement is a wormhole just in the quantum scale. And then a wormhole is just a much larger version, which would imply that if a wormhole requires a gravitational bending, then you can imagine that gravity must be somehow quantum itself, which it is. 0 point energy is what allows for or creates what we know as gravity. It's an induced effect on 0 point energy densities. Why is that the case? Because mass and energy are the same thing. So if mass causes gravity, then energy must also cause gravity. Okay, let's see what's going on. Is it fixed now? Nope, still broken. Has anyone made any posts about what they're going to do? Like Elon Musk could not fetch space. Are they just like half the world is trying to listen? Kind of crazy. I wonder if anybody is in there right now. I'm guessing they're not. Yeah, details not available. Damn, we like literally crashed it up. Oh, they have it up on Timcast? Someone got in the space on their phone? Yeah, all the evidence regarding MH370 is posted on my X. It's on my highlights. So if you're interested in MH370 stuff, I investigated the plane for, well, it's been a year now, but I slowed down back on March of the 10-year anniversary. There really wasn't much more to dig into. So if you are interested in that, all you have to do is go through my highlights. You can find everything. I went back and found some of my old posts. It's crazy to look at my old posts compared to the new stuff. Like when it comes to the science, like I was pretty close, like really, really, really close. Which is kind of incredible because I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about electrical engineering. And I knew enough physics, but not a lot of physics. I used to think that wormholes weren't even possible. I thought wormhole was like a science fiction thing. And then I read that all these like humanly traversable wormhole papers, and I was like, wait, what? Like, it's pretty wild. Tesla YouTube channel is streaming it? Okay, I'll go check that out right now. Tesla YouTube channel. We need anything that can watch. Although I'm probably going to get copyright strike for this. We'll see. I don't see it. I definitely don't see it on Tesla's YouTube channel. They have 3 million subscribers. Other people are saying, I mean, I'm staring at Tesla's YouTube channel. There's no live streams happening on Tesla's YouTube channel. You pwned. Thank you for the $1 donation. Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, I think. Wait, are people actually listening? How are they listening to it if the space isn't even running? Or is it just maxed out? Hold on, let's see. Yeah, some of you guys need to work on your discernment. I think some of you guys have been you've been got by some fake content. Don't feel bad though. There was I almost got scammed in this what was it? This weird Telegram thing. So one thing I'm begging people is please do not try to connect me with other people. What I would just ask, if you're interested in trying to connect me with people, you reach out to them and tell them about me and have them contact me directly. I had a situation happen where somebody tried to get me in touch with someone, turned out to be someone impersonating somebody else. And then it ended up being this like kind of, I don't know exactly what the scam was, but it was really weird. And the moment I saw an AI message that was copy of my message and just reworded slightly, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. They had like a fake Elon Musk, fake Gwyneth Paltrow, fake board of directors from the Tesla company, fake Alex Shapiro, who's Elon Musk's lawyer. Like they literally had like fake everybody. It was really fucking weird. So yeah. So be careful, guys. Falling for scams, chat. Be careful. Yeah, we might literally be breaking the internet. I think I'm just gonna play the John Ramirez thing while we wait here. Somebody said it starts in 25 minutes or something. Yeah, okay. I think we're just going to watch the John Ramirez thing while we wait because I don't know. You guys will let me know when it happens, right? Yeah. Is this even the real Ashton Forbes? This could be AI, guys. Who knows? Maybe I just took this Ashton Forbes guy's identity. Hey, Billy, no downside. Good to see you guys. The Elon Musk space is going to be Elon Musk Donald Trump. So we were trying to watch it, but it looks like we broke the internet. So feels bad. You have to be very careful with Elon Musk related stuff because he has 190 million followers. So he has a lot of people scamming his identity, like a lot. Yeah, Hodge twins are quite upset. Somebody got in. You know, somebody's definitely in. Let me see. Oh, okay. So it is just totally broken, huh? So can we... 222,000 people are in there and everybody else has crashed is how it works. Got it. Okay, let me... Shit. Damn, this is bullshit, chat. This is bullshit. How do we do this? We need somebody to get in so that we can watch. Yeah, so people are posting screenshots. There's 222,000 people listening right now. And the X servers are melting. I wonder if we can we restream? If I restream Tim Pool, I'm going to get a copyright strike for sure. Oh, it's only hold music so far still? Okay, so they haven't said anything yet? So what people are saying is that they're not saying anything yet. Oh, Tim's waiting as well? Okay. Got it. So basically everybody's just waiting for something to happen. Just hold music? Okay. They're probably trying to fix the servers before anything happens, would be my guess, guys. Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll play a little bit of this video. I'm going to go ahead and give credit now. Project Unity hates me, and honestly, I think he's a piece of shit anyway. So he'll probably copyright strike me for playing this video because it was on his YouTube channel, but I don't really care because it's a pretty interesting video. So if I have to demonetize my stream, I don't want to give a shit. Let me see if I can get this. Is this... Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can do this better. Probably not, huh? Okay. I'll have to play it the other way. Here you go. Okay, so this is John Ramirez.
Well,
okay?
if memory serves,
that is not what this is not what
it's an energy source. Properly used, it could eliminate our dependence on fossil fuels altogether.
What about improperly used?
It could wipe out all life on the planet. Science, you crazy bitch.
We'll let that play anyway. That was definitely not what I was trying to play. Okay.
Gold.
So John Ramirez here was I think for like 10, 15 years. Yeah, that was Eric Andre. Good guess. I mean, it looks like him in his anime version. He was in the CIA for like 10 years. And this is just him speaking for 30 minutes on his time in the CIA.
Electronic intelligence, or as anyone in the military or the IC with that type of background would know, is called tech-elant.
So he's talking about how he was involved in signals intelligence, and tech-elant is one variant underneath signals intelligence. Why is this important? Because signals intelligence is related to the videos, and really this is how everything kind of works. There's a bunch of different INTs like SIGINT, LINT. There's a few others. I forget. NERINT, I think, is another one, like neurointelligence. I don't know. And so these are like how the CIA classifies the types of intelligence that they collect. Kind of interesting. Yeah, so apparently they're getting DDoSed is what I'm hearing here, by the way, for Twitter at the moment. I'll keep checking it out in the background. Once it's up, I'll let you guys know and we'll hop into there. So if people are wondering what's going on, everybody's complaining they can't get in. So yeah, once that gets fixed, we'll jump in. Elon Musk apparently says they're getting DDoSed, so we'll see. Oh, okay. Wow. That'd be crazy if we don't get in. Oh, well. It says there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X. We're working on shutting it down. Worst case, we'll proceed with a smaller number and post the combo later. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, this literally broke the internet, this Elon Musk thing. That they're so upset. Why are people so mad at Elon Musk? It's crazy. What has this guy done to deserve the hatred? Literally sends rockets, reusable rockets into outer space, started an electric car company, and bought social media company and made it actually a real free speech platform and wrestled it away from the United States government's censorship, fascist censorship apparatus. He's done nothing to make anybody hate him. The best part was I didn't give a shit about Elon Musk, and all the liberals in the whole world loved Elon Musk. And then the moment that he bought Twitter, all of them were convinced to hate Elon Musk. Like, just like new processing, new scripts being inserted. And I'm just like, really? What the hell, man? Okay. Here we go. Yeah, MSM tells people to hate him. It's crazy. And so, like, literally, if you read Reddit, like, these people are just so brainwashed. They think he's like the Antichrist. And these are all people that loved him and thought he was like their savior just a few years ago. It's crazy how powerful propaganda and brainwashing is. Really is. Nobody has any original opinions on Elon Musk. It's just literally manufactured, 100% manufactured outrage. They blocked your X live stream tonight? No, I doubt that. Let me look. Wait, is my live stream down too? Yeah, my live stream's down on X too. What the? Holy shit. Yeah, so basically it's just all of X is down. Wild. Okay, well. Holy shit, everything's down. Okay, well, let's watch this and then let's see. Hopefully this plays out. Yeah.
Now, what is tech-elant, and how does that relate to UFOs or UAPs? Well, let me describe tech-elant first. Tech-elant is this discipline under SIGINT that is related to emanations of electromagnetic energy radiated by weapon systems, such as surface-to-air missiles, such as cruise missiles, ballistic missile defense systems, air-to-air missiles. You get the idea.
This is really interesting, what he just said there. What is tech-elant? It's like we're looking for energy signatures. Now, why is that important? Because that's what Sibers is doing. He just connected the MH370 video to Sibers. Now we can understand that if you're involved in tech-elant, you might be recording the video of the Orbs zapping the plane away. That's the literal purpose of Sibers, is to detect missile launches. What they say to the public is completely different than what the real capabilities are. Not necessarily completely different, but it's a lot more advanced than what they say to the public in terms of what cybers can pull off. Very interesting.
Weapon systems. And we don't just collect and analyze the parameters of these weapon systems signals. We also dive into what made this emanation work. How does it work? And try to reverse engineer in software using modeling and simulation.
Try to reverse engineer? Guys, are you listening to what he's saying right now? He just basically confirmed that Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn is the guy that leaked the videos. Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn had experience in signals intelligence. Now we know exactly what signals intelligence does. He just explained one aspect of it. Tech Elon. Literally looking for weapon signatures and trying to reverse engineer them. That's exactly why you're filming the orbs circling around the plane. Wild.
The actual transmitter and receiver chain of that particular emitter. We're literally reconstructing that radar or that seeker on paper within the computer and try to exploit it in that manner. So it's a little bit more complicated than what most military people call ELANT, which is operational ELANT. That's just basically like collecting or detecting signals and looking it up in a database and associating that signal with a known emitter. So how does that relate to UFOs and UAPs? I am intrigued that the USS Princeton, CG-59, might have collected emanations of an electromagnetic nature from the Tic Tac. I know that the USS Princeton
Electromagnetic signatures from the Tic Tac, that was 2004. That was the Nimitz incident. So if we had the ability to detect electromagnetic signatures from a supposed UFO sighting in 2004, where Commander Fravor was told by the CIA that it was Lockheed Martin technology. Interesting.
has a piece of equipment that I'm very familiar with called the AN/SOQ or SLIC 32. It is a countermeasures piece of equipment designed to collect signals of a threat nature and then generate counter signals to deceive or to deflect that particular weapon systems. And I'm being very, very careful in my description of the SLIC 32.
So he's trying not to. I almost got into the space, guys. I almost got into the space just now. I was almost in the space. That's why I was getting so excited. I had the thing popped up and it said join and then it crashed. F my life, chat.
I myself was an electronic warfare technician prior to joining CIA. And as an electronic warfare technician, I'm very familiar with how signals intelligence is conducted on board a Navy ship. I believe that if these signals exist, and I have a suspicion where they might be, it opens up an avenue of other research and opens up an avenue for a Freedom of Information Act request on at least the fact of that such signals were collected. Now, who would characterize these signals in the intelligence community and in the military, in the defense community? Well, obviously, the National Security Agency is the SIGINT agency for the U.S. government.
The National Security Agency is the SIGINT agency for the U.S. government? Huh. I did not know that.
Having said that, the CIA also does signals intelligence, but in a different way and for a different purpose. And it's beyond the scope of my explanation now. But CIA also does SIGINT, and that's why I was an ELANT analyst in the CIA and not at NSA.
Interesting. So this also helps with figuring out who to FOIA request for some of this stuff as well, to get these people. I want them to at least deny my FOIA requests. That's just as good as them admitting the truth at this point. We just know so much. They're going to proceed at 8:30 with the current number of listeners and then post the unedited minute. Man, god damn it. bullshit, dude. This is bullshit, man. I do kind of want to talk to John Ramirez. Usually when people say somebody's disinfo, then usually I want to talk to them even more. What I realize is there's a bunch of people that get branded as disinformation and stuff like that that are 100% legit. Kind of crazy. Like with Salvatore Paius's patents, I guess you could say, arguing with somebody that says that Hal Puthoff is a kook. I'm like, Hal Puthoff invented a laser and wrote textbooks that were used to teach the world. You think, what are you talking about? These people, like, it's crazy how much disinformation there is about people claiming that they are disinformation.
So NSA probably might have these signals. Now, who else might have these signals? I believe the Office.
We are in, chat. We are in. We are in. I don't want to jinx it. I do not want to jinx it. We're not dropping out. We are in, and we are in the stream, chat. We are in. We are in. Oh, it is happening. God, I've never been so happy, chat. Okay, we got to get. I'm afraid to even post my question. I don't want to click on anything. I don't want to click on anything, chat. I don't want to break anything, man. Oh, do we risk it, chat? Do we risk it? Oh, I don't know. Do we risk clicking on anything? I don't know what to do here. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm not going to click on anything. We just let it marinate for a minute. Don't click on anything. Yeah, it's fine. I want to ask my question, but I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid to put anything in the chat. It might break our stream. Woo! Okay, how do I make the sound go away, though? How do I make the sound go away? How about that? Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't think you guys can hear the music anymore. I mean, there's like 500,000 people in here. I don't think I'm going to be able to, sadly, but whatever. It'll be fun to listen anyway. Okay. Whew. Yeah, we're not pushing our luck here. I'm guessing it'll start in the next couple minutes. Guys. Yeah, that electromagnetic signal video. Wow. I'll go full screen for a moment. Don't worry, we're still in there. Yeah, that video with John Ramirez is really interesting. He talks about the NSA, the CIA, their tech ELINT capabilities. He talks about a sighting he had of orbs. He talks about the UFO stuff and like halfway through. It's really interesting. Yeah, I can't believe that, like, he's allowed to speak so freely, to be honest with you. Even just the information that John Ramirez guy is saying, like, can be used to figure stuff out, like the MH370 videos. Uh, so there's a few clips in there that I think, we'll get to it after this, but there's a couple clips that I'm probably gonna cut and edit and post on my Twitter because it's like, "What? What did he just say?" Pretty cool, guys. Okay, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the space, everybody. We've got Donald Trump, Elon Musk is about to go down in just a couple minutes. I've got the music in my headphones right now. Can't make it go. I can't silence it, and I'm too afraid to try and touch anything. So I will unmute it once it starts up here for you guys. Yeah, 710,000 in this space. There's gonna be 1 million people in this space. It's gonna probably get like 2 million people listening in this space. Crazy. Oh no, there. I was gonna say, did it go? Oh, I kind of want to. Let's see. What else can we talk about while we have this going? What do I want to say? What do I want to say? What I want to say is this, guys, is that free energy is real. Free energy is real. There's 0 point energy all around us everywhere. We can tap into it. People have already figured out how to do it. And I believe that the government has simply used the Invention Secrecy Act to hide any inventions related to over unity and free energy. And in addition to that, they've also censored the science. So they also, I think, actively have people go out there and discredit scientific papers that are too close to figuring it out as well. That's how dark I think this gets, sad as it is to say. In addition to that, We also can bend gravity and manipulate gravity, which shouldn't be that much of a stretch. We've seen gravitational waves. It's been admitted to that LIGO has detected gravitational waves. So if gravitational waves are somehow happening, we should be able to figure out how it works. And we know it requires mass. We know that because mass is what causes gravity. But the part people don't just put two and two together is go, well, energy equals mass. Wait, is it starting? So energy equals mass. So if energy equals mass, then why can't we just use energy instead of mass? And the answer is we can. We can. So, looks like we're getting started here. So we're going to flip over. I also know more about the gravity manipulation stuff, but I am very careful about what I say out there because, I've heard that if it gets pushed a little too far, maybe I won't be safe, even though I feel kind of safe right now. But I think I've given you guys enough insights and enough hints so that you guys can figure it out for yourselves based on what I've done with my live streams that are out there. I mean, just read the scientific papers I put out there. There's hints here and there, everywhere, what have you. People may say, well, Ashton, why have you not been disappeared if this is all true? I think that Russia and China have already figured it out as well. So disappearing me doesn't really advance the cause because if I figured this out, Russia and China have. All the scientific papers are out there. The patents are out there. I was actually just looking at Salvatore Palles's patent earlier today, and there's like 3 or 4 different Chinese papers that are referencing his patent that are like from 2021 through 2023. Like the Chinese know that Salvatore Palles's stuff is legit, and they are working on advancing it further. So this would help understand then, okay, well, why haven't they disappeared action? Because at the end of the day, this is coming out one way or another. It's just a matter of timelines. So there you go. Yeah, 118,000 posts on this space. For people, you're not missing anything. It's just silence right now. The music stopped, but there's silence. So I thought it was going to start, but it didn't start yet. There you go. And the other thing too is that like I think that they're happy enough with the debunk attempts. Like enough people are not paying attention to the videos at this point that like they're happy that they're fine with it. There's always going to be a number of people that know the truth, and as long as those people don't have a giant platform and aren't being taken seriously, then they don't mind. But yeah. How about a flash screen? The problem is like with respect to like this information, there's too much information, guys, on all aspects. There's too much information on the MH370 case. Like I could write a 500-page book with all the evidence in it. There's no like, here's a cheat sheet with 1 page on it, And with the science, it's much the same. Like even to comprehend and understand the science, I can tell you guys, I can just tell you, and if you want to just believe me, we can do that. But to really understand the science, you have to learn for yourself. What I'll tell you guys is this as well. There's nobody behind the scenes that's saying this is exactly how it works, Ashton. That's not happening. There are people that have given me hints. Like if I ask them questions, they'll answer. But the way it's gone is that the people that I've talked to, and you guys know some of them from my like live streams and my Hard Truths podcast or what have you, they want me to figure out for myself as well, because that's how you start to learn this stuff. You have to see it for yourself, because you have to realize some of these people too, like they know that even people who are like accredited PhDs, they don't see what's right in front of them. So the number one hurdle is you figure it out for yourself. And then it becomes self-apparent. Like once you see how the physics really works, that explains dark energy and all this stuff that conventional physics doesn't understand, you don't need to be convinced that of a free energy device, because you already know it's possible. You already know it's possible. Same with the wormhole stuff. It's like, why am I 100% sure it's possible? Because I know how the physics works. Once you know how the physics works, it's inevitable that we can make a wormhole. It's inevitable that we have gravity manipulation technology. Once you realize that 0-point energy and the relative energy density is like a balloon, squeezing the balloon over here expands the balloon over here. Once you realize like this is how gravity works, and this is how, then it's like, okay, well, of course we can extract energy here and have energy appear over here. Of course we can. So, and then the last thing I'll say on it as well is that the physics and the science related to free energy and gravity manipulation is not, it doesn't rewrite all the laws of physics. It actually builds upon them. It's literally just a matter of looking at it through a slightly different lens. It's like, okay, well, if the first law of thermodynamics is correct, we can't create or destroy energy. Okay, what's the loophole there? Well, what if the energy already exists? Then we're not creating or destroying it. We're just borrowing it. Right? That's the loophole. And that should make sense because look at all around us. There's energy everywhere. There's mass everywhere. Where did all that come from? Doesn't it make more sense that there would be an ocean of energy and that's where everything we know came from and always comes from all the time? Instead, we have this view that space is nothing in it. What if space doesn't have nothing in it? What if we're in a medium and you can go below the equilibrium or above it? Right? That's all people really have to understand. And the crazy part is there's scientists talking about this, like Richard Feynman from the Manhattan Project, talking about the sea of energy, where there's enough energy in this martini to boil all the Earth's oceans, in just the space in this martini to boil all the Earth's oceans. We're swimming in it, as Chaotic Good said. And we're just waiting for Elon. I don't hear anything yet. I'm still in the space. If you guys hear them talk, let me know. I didn't press any buttons because I'm afraid. But I'll show you that we're still in the space. We're just waiting. Yeah, we're swimming in it. What is inertia? What even is inertia? This could give people pause. Like, why, when we accelerate in a craft, does it take more and more energy to go faster and faster and faster? Because we're pushing through a medium. We're always pushing through a medium. So you just strip that medium away. Strip that equilibrium away. That's what the 0 point energy is, the medium. That's the medium that we are constantly pushing through everywhere we go, even in outer space. Even in outer space. You know, you could, because otherwise people would say, oh, well, the atmosphere is the medium. Yes, and so is water, technically. They're all just different viscosities or different densities of our medium. But there's always a medium there. That's inertia. That's what inertia is coming from.
All right, hello everyone. My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like,
you guys can hear, right?
Hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
Awesome, thank you.
And but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. So this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand, like, what is what is it just like to have a conversation? So honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
I wish I had a
Patty. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, you know, the president of the United States represents America, and I think that is America. That is strength under fire, and so that's you know, a big you know, part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant, I have to
Not
be honest.
pleasant.
I said there was blood. I had
Being
more
shot is
blood.
not
I didn't
much
know
fun.
I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about because it went at the right angle, and you know, it was a hard hit. It was very, I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. You know, I was telling somebody you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation, and I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it, you know, it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, "Bullets, bullets!" You know, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was, for those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, you know, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle, and all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more now.
Maybe it's a sign. Maybe that's a sign, you know.
It's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue, and at that moment, the bullet missed your, you know, hit your ear, but you know, missed your head. I mean,
the amazing thing is that the sign, I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey, who a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great Trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, "I'd like to give the family some kind of help." And I said, "That's great." He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I don't mind at all." And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife. And, you know, she said, "This is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back," which is a nice thing for somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of money for them and for two other gentlemen who are unbelievable people also. They were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them, equally. And we thought, my first question was, because I heard bullets flying over me, I said, how many people were killed? Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, how many people have been killed? Because I knew there were other shots being fired. And they said, we don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt. And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper, because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium. And he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. and it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been
Sure.
badly hurt and killed. So
Yeah,
I have to
absolutely.
take my hat off to him, because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years, and he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. Obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you have to have in that particular work. But he took aim very quickly, and they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range, one bullet. If that didn't happen, because the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges up there with him. So
well,
could have been very.
I mean that's clearly he was very competent in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean there does seem to be some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like there's just no way that, like, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen.
Well, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people, because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and Trump all over it, and she's screaming. And that guy's got a gun. You saw it probably. There's a guy up there with a gun.
I mean, it's like I guess, I mean, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering how the heck are, basically people wondering by pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun. And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed. That does seem crazy.
Well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and he saw the man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun. And he fell down, actually very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly, but he fell down. And he did, from what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun. And the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. He was supposed to be a very good shot. My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf, sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah, it's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. It's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think, they're screaming, but other people also, because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at, some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see. And a lot of press too. There were, many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it. So, you know, sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me, they stood up and they're looking like, you know, I mean, I tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people because it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down, but the Secret Service guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing. And these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate, would jump. They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now there was a lack of coordination. There was, you know, obviously everybody understands that somebody that building should have been covered, and
I mean,
that was the big thing.
like, I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like if you were to pick, like, what is the favorite, so if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building.
You're right.
That building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better location. It's like
no, that would have been the spot. You know what people think is when the local policeman, who, by the way, you know, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head, and when he fell down, again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the calls. But what happened is the firing took place very soon. So what they think is that this guy ran to his site, which he had all planned out with the gun. He ran to the site and he started shooting fast. And maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, you know, he got me, but it could have been, could have been a much bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So, like, you know, there was it was a very near thing.
It was a miracle. If I hadn't turned my head, I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly,
I would not. I would not be talking.
Maybe talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be talking from a different place. But it was a you know, it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, you know, there was just a bad feeling that there was somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been And if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, you know, like there'd be a lightning storm or something. Because I've done, I think, over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, "Sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something," right? And that happens often. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened, but it didn't. It didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
Well, it was your. I think your actions in the heat of fire, and, you know, like, what I found admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual, or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And so
thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up, and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, you know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me, and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, you know, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher. And I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else because it was such a lot of blood. And they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, "Sir, you were hit in more than the ear." I said, "Nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up." And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think. And I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I got up, because they didn't know, was I alive? You really couldn't tell. When I stood up before the, you know, the fist in the air, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was a
Well,
terrible thing, but it was
incredibly,
really nice.
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration
Right.
slide. Maybe this,
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was
that slide. That slide saved
You're
your
right.
life.
No,
Basically.
the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was,
I
I had to be at
know,
that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. saved by illegal
You know,
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing, though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the incredible
Yeah.
thing is that the chart, I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
Yeah.
It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here
Yeah.
we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the odds of that, and
Yeah.
you know that normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it
Yeah.
would have been a very different story. It's very much, I say, an act of God. It's a miracle that it happened, and I'm honored by it. I'm honored by it.
Well, what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted? With
Well,
the
I was
bullet?
going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go
Great.
back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. Great. These are incredible people. Like the three that, in the case of Corey, killed, and the other two, the families are, I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying, prior to being so horribly interrupted.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so rudely interrupted by an
yeah,
assassination
so
attempt.
but no, but the chart,
some people have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that in my last week, we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart. It's become quite a famous chart, but that was the lowest point ever recorded. It was a really, I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Guys like Tom Holman and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. These are all people that they've been on television. They said it's the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes. And in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that. But they were fantastic numbers. But I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but we also need to shut down illegal immigration, and especially unvetted illegal immigration, because and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately represent your position?
I say it very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. You know, they had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, you know, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you know, you hear 12 million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you know, you look at, it's so sad October 7th because it should have never happened. It's so sad when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something, because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a secure border. And
secure elections too.
You know, absolutely, secure elections. And so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our services, you know, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. But as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and I'm speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, and I think that I mean, like, one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? You know, who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are going to, you know, be great contributors to our society and to our economy, and you know, and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like, in my opinion, actually, I'd say, like, probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, you know, if somebody's you know, if somebody's like you know, has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're such a target-rich environment. I mean, you know, why aren't more people who have a career in, you know, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, you know, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested. So
it's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I hate to say it, because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it. But you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're allowing, again, they're allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're They're delivering them into
But that's what Castro did.
yeah,
that.
well, he did on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
You know, it was a much smaller
Yeah.
scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. You know, this is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be.
Yeah.
And I saw it today in New York, where somebody was knifed with a raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of
I
the
don't want to
shelters.
see any more anime
started
stuff
pulling out
happening
the
to my
knives,
son,
and bad
Buster.
things happen today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for murder and all sorts of things. And they're releasing them into our country. And they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. And it's horrible what they're doing. And she's in charge of it because, you know, now she's trying to say she had nothing to do with it. And she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location, which had nothing to do with where the problem is. You know, she went in and out, I guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure, but had nothing to do with the problem is. But she was the border czar, and people can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known what happened. You could shut the border down. He wouldn't even know the difference. But the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her that, the fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's horrible.
Whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And you know, sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, you know, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly. You know,
these are
people can look at my video and say, hey, you know, these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
these are people that Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And, you know, the caravans are coming in, and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them. But these are people that are non-productive. They are just not productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not workers, or they don't want to work, or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases. And they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are really brutal people. And they're coming into our country at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years, we have 20 million people for it. It's a terrible.
Yeah, I think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't have a country left. Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the 4. but it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
yeah. I think
Mexico.
this is a super important
Yeah.
point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico. To
No,
be clear.
Mexico less.
It's just
less
the
than
border. It's just the border with Mexico, but the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
US.
already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York, and I love that place. And what they're doing to it is horrible. What they're doing to it, and all the courts do is they
Yeah.
try and focus on Trump. Okay, let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa. From the Congo, they're coming from the Congo, and 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers, and they're dropped. They drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails. Although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them out, and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, "Don't ever come back, or you're going to be executed." And they don't want to come back. But they won't come back.
Sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South America.
Well, just
they're
Earth,
coming from
rest of Earth,
everywhere.
basically.
And there are a lot of
Yeah,
really
everywhere on
bad
Earth.
ones.
It's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible. So,
Well, Elon, we're going to have to finish this up. We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country. What they've done to our country. Think of it, with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United States. The same with other countries.
Sure.
Some are at 30%. Some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it? And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated. And I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different. Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it.
Well,
and we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it. You take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah, no. I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do, and do they fear the American president, or is it someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would. They rightfully be. I mean, but look at the footage with the assassination. They're like, okay, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like. Whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That's that if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Shifty Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people, frankly. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But, they put our country in danger with that stuff, too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there. And the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow.
Yeah.
I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's inconsistent. Certainly, but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of them.
And that puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one of them, and I know them well. I know Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart. They're vicious. And they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. When I was there, and I say it with respect, because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll pass. They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. It is zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again. Getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim Jong-un. When I met with President Obama just before entering, it's a sort of a ritual. And I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they
Those
were,
like
they were
absolutely...
epic everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him Little Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden I got a call from him and they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met, as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with him great. We were in no danger. But President Obama thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff too.
Exactly.
He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage. So
yes, I mean, it's because people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well,
and
he and I had a good relationship. Remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say. Let's bring up Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. I always say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama, if you think about it, Obama and Biden, and Bush to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat. The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disaster.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the 2 armies, you lost 500,000 people. And Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story. But if you think about it, Russia's gone, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. They've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force. Yeah. And it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight. And we're in a very bad position. And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you I could have stopped that. And a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity, and it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from
100%.
other countries.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection, because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But with all of that being said, to me that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen, and it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discussed the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Yes, absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon. And as much as I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation has eaten you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending, because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending. And we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say, like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest,
and it keeps growing.
I rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military. Did a great job on it, which was so important. We had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old, and we did a great job in that. Then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. They're one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you.
Thank
That
you.
doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the
Thank you.
gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're going to need a lot of electricity. You're going to need tremendous electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government overspending. Right. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a person.
The waste is incredible, and nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I went through it, like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general said, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion for two planes. Now, now they're highly sophisticated.
That's insane.
They're even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
Sure. That's a crazy number.
It's a crazy number. But I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by
the numbers are astronomical.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Well, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love it
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy to help
by the
out.
way, congratulations.
Yeah.
I just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big, he's great. And he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought over, but he's doing a big job. He really cut And I'm hearing
Yeah.
they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. You know, they had like
Yes,
2,000%. And they had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that pretty soon. I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They don't include a lot of the items that should be included, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having just like so many departments you can't even name them all. And what Milei is doing is he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's putting in regulations that make sense, and Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. In the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7. But we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the 50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well-run. Sure. And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well. But they'll actually be forced to do better, because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than half what it is in Washington. And these people don't care about the students in these, faraway states. And it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah. I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if each state has to compete against other states, then people will naturally move to states where it's better.
Well, like California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little
Yeah, yeah,
monitor. You know, you want to make sure they're teaching English as an example. You know, give us a
yeah.
little English, right?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
No, but I mean, to what? I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul
It's
sales.
actually
It's
amazing.
just people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois, so many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high? You know, the taxes are among the highest
Yeah.
taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job and they're crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right. Well,
That's
you're
the
going
only
to
thing
have
that's going to
that.
get them to change.
You remember the area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So you know, at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So you know what? Is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you know, you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of these, and some are very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that, I mean, the larger point here, too, you know, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy, a lot of people are concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money, and for people that are working day to day, it's just a form of taxation, and if we can solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living, and that's a really big deal.
Well, the people that got hurt worst are the people that did it the way they were taught to do it all through, you know, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people that saved money and then they got no interest on their money and inflation destroyed them. And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated, and we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. You know, when I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, when you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, you know, a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy anything. They look at it's sticker shock. They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason, but unless you've got effective deregulation, like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had anyone really. I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think there's opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation. And if
Elon,
those two things, those are the big deals.
We set a record. We did more deregulation and more restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for every one we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in and we had to focus on that. And nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit, but had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill, and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline, and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in, and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. We got over that bad period where everybody was dying and feeling, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration, and we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for almost 3 years. We had the great, and that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years, and also said that African American, Hispanic American were so incredible. They were having the best. Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better, and everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about maybe my views on climate change and oil and gas, because I think it's probably different from what most people would assume. Because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving, and the economy would collapse. So it's I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry, and the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there for. It's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time, but so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to stop farmers from farming or prevent people from having steaks or basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree. How crazy is that? Where I mean, you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is a little crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I just say, though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car, fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And, so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to, but I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like ANWR. I got ANWR in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove it, to get rid of it. He ended it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's ANWR. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure, really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that time, something will come around that will be very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and my estimate would be, a little more aggressive than that. But it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view is like, if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or 3 to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2. And I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard,
right?
Just so it's that's actually, you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over, and like, and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable. I think that'll probably be okay. So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on balance, it's probably better to move there faster than slower. But like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term, I think this can be done. Without, but people can still have, a stake, and they can still drive gasoline cars, and it's okay. It's like, it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the direction of sustainability. I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the future, and it's certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries, so because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I made this sexy joke: Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It was probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know, I like cheesy humor, So, but I'm a big fan of, like, let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future, and we can do so without demonizing people.
Right. I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change, because you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming, because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars. And it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first. But it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world,
Sure.
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me, that's an immediate problem because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number 1, and I mean, we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that you're not surprised to hear very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk about I'll prevent World War III, I will. But the truth is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. Right. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is it's a rough name. There are some areas like when you see what happened in
bad branding.
Right, we'll have to rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No, that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not something that
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically. But let's see. I mean, are there some other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think we need to be concerned about
what they've done to this country.
Obviously,
yeah. Well, we just won the big case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals, like Fani, Fani, spelled Fani, Fani, and it's all a big hoax, and it's all run from there, like in Manhattan. The one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before, and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare. It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't lift it. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, he's clearly. He's clearly like we just don't have a president. Right
you
now.
don't have a president, and she's going to be worse than him because she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states now you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our country is becoming a very dangerous place, and she is a radical left San Francisco liberal, and now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than Trump.
Yeah.
I want a wall. I
think that's,
she wants to release all the prisoners that are in detention, and some of these guys are really bad.
Right.
That just came out today. She doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. In your business, everything you do is obsolete, almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships, they're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add 200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
Yeah, this is simply not true. This is simply not true.
And everybody knows it's not true. It's a disgrace that she can say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic, and if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. Now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see fracking. If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. Like the Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, both sides. That was a hard thing to do, unification.
Yeah, no. I mean, Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. What does that say?
I think it's highly
That's
disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person, or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. Their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they build, that can be swamped. We'll use the term that's appropriate, swamped. But they swamp it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting enough missiles, they can't defend themselves. They just obliterate the whole place. And that's what some people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you, she'll be worse than him, because she's a believer in being radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her running mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now that's all I have to hear. Tampons in boys' bathrooms, and that means she believes in that too. I mean, she picked this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as the president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country this election. And I mean, I'm just stating my opinion. Now, you may have seen this, but I got a letter from the EU Commission, saying, to not have disinformation on during this discussion that we're having, and there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship even on Americans from other countries. And what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. We have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. If you add up the European nations that, in terms of an economy, it's about the same size when you say as us. And they're in, and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from, in this case, the enemy would be Russia. It used to be for the Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is they're in for 70-something million. I think even less than that, billion. And we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not. But they should, and I did it with NATO. there were only 7 countries that were paid up in NATO out of 28 at the time. And the United States
Yeah,
was the United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went in and I said, you got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in. And
yeah,
you know,
I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses.
and then we get
even though,
taken
like,
advantage of on trade. So think
yeah,
about it.
well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's it's like, then okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair, and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well, you know, when you talk about
so-
cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do, because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me, because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, you know, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are lunatics.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russians and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
Yeah.
Now, they've taken advantage
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
us incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, you know, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't, because she's not smart. You know, she's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but no, he wouldn't have this.
That's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but, you know, we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that you know, we can have a conversation, and I'm able to get it out without, because I get treated unfairly.
This is a really big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like it's not possible.
That's
so this is like talking to an NPC.
No.
So it's just impossible.
Well, but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. You know, I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner, we had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
That's for
Let
sure.
me tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But, you know, in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it, but I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now, you know Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating, or even standing together? It is, the whole concept is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, you know, maybe like, I think part of what, you know, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the future is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach new heights that make you proud to be an American. and excited about the future.
They want the American
I think
dream back. They want the American dream back, more important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent. And when I debated him, I was like, is this for real? It was.
Yeah, it was just absurd. But I think there are like some grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think like we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We could build high-speed connections that are more advanced than anything else in the world between our cities, so people have fast transport. It's possible to solve traffic with tunnels.
Right.
We've we already made great progress in Vegas doing that, and and just do things that are exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
Well, I saw what you did in Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see. I took a big glimpse at it, and it's incredible. It's incredible, and you could do that all over. You could do that all over. It's deep.
Yeah,
you don't even need much structure. Assuming you're in the right areas.
No, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
So like I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high-speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation, with an ability to actually where it's like legal to actually do the tunnels. Then you could have high-speed tunnels that are actually better than anything else in the world for high-speed transport between cities, and that would be something that Americans can say, wow, okay, we've got something that's cooler than anyone else in the world. That's the kind of thing that makes you proud to be an American.
And much safer than surface trains, where there is a danger there, with crazy people. It's much safer, much better. And, it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest trains. I find it fascinating. And I've seen the systems and how they work, and the bullet trains, they call them, I guess. And they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable, with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And it doesn't make sense that we don't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think also like there's I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's lives. And
I worked very hard on that. We got that down to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
Yeah, it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it's just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take months, and that improves people's lives.
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to hop on this point that like there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year, and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we just ossify as a society. We can't make any progress, and it's a really big deal.
Elon, just getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in, and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. And but people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved where you can, you basically, you look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability. The country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get sued. These are people terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the pharmaceutical companies, nobody wanted it. I got everybody into a room, and we came up with an agreement that you won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list. If somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative. Okay. And as you know, we got it done. We have saved right to try. They've been trying to get this done for 58 years. And it sounds simple, but it wasn't, because, you know, I mean, you know, the insurance companies, nobody wanted it, but we got it done. Somebody signs, you sign a document that you're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country, you're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done. And we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to try. Hopefully you never need it. But if you do, you don't have to travel to Asia. You know, people, if they had money, they go to Asia, they go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and die.
Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S. I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it done, and I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe, and it's a drug that, generally speaking, would work. It's pretty crazy.
Absolutely,
you're right.
And I think so long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons, and like these are the risks, this is the risk, and like you make your own decision. That makes sense.
Well, I think just you know, in sort of closing up, and by the way, I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening. I hope you don't get nervous, because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something. What is that number? It's crazy. It's amazing how you can see that right away. How many? What is the number? Wow. What is it?
Well,
wow.
I think in terms of people,
that's bigger than you said. You said 25, and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70. And I guess over a period of time, hey, I congratulate you. Do I get paid for this or not?
Well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to weeks, it's going to be hundreds.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an honor. I just asked this: are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it, and they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over. I mean, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
I mean, with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, have any of your friends been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, 3 of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets in New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and they just know
they always get away.
Nothing's going to, and they don't even bother reporting it because they know that they're not going to, people are not going to get prosecuted. They just let violent criminals out in New York.
The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean it's just obviously messed up.
Oh, it's terrible.
If violent criminals are getting off scot-free, and meanwhile the New York spending massive resources prosecuting you, and it's like what's this? And I think the sort of sensible public looks at this and says, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. The legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, And it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to, some, legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one. I mean, this is a very bad precedent, what they're doing in terms of, going after their political opponent. And that's all it is. It's going after their political opponent. And then you get a judge who's, a strong Democrat. And I'm being nice when I say that, in many cases, crooked as hell. But you get a judge and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote. And, you'll have a jury pool with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could also be the other way, though, because it could start the other way in areas where they hate Democrats. And you get into a Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this country, and a very dangerous thing even for the state. New York City is losing. New York City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say, we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of inflation.
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely. So,
and I just want to congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about rockets.
It's kind of you to say. Thank you.
Tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty, I'll say. So it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president. And that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot of things.
I think that's a very real risk.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
It's a very real risk.
Yeah.
And it's, I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before. And if you look at my record, I've actually been, I'm not like, some they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd, because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping them with the environment, and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I'd call myself historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. She was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not we're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture. And I think this is a case of the America is kind of at a fork in the road, and
sure.
And I think it will take the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president, and I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you, and You know, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's
Yeah.
even more of an
Well,
honor to
yeah.
have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But you know, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America, and now it's not. It's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things that, and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, you know, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take them out.
Yeah. I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, you know, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system, just, you know, stop the lawfare, and I think that's like, and how are those even right-wing positions? I think those are just that's just common sense, and that's. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand, you know, the whole, they call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their crime rates all over the world are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is, if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela, because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so we'll go, you and I will go, and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela, because that's what's happening. Their crime rates coming down and our crime rates going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet, because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated. And they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police. We have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely. And it's obviously demoralizing if you're a police officer risking your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes. And then you arrest the violent criminal, and then the DA, you know, doesn't prosecute, and they just let the guy out. Well, then, like, why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
if nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it, and they prosecute the police officer, and they take away his pension. They take away his job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that, you know, when there was that case where you know, sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York, and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how, I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. You know, we see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you had about six of these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot. They would be shot instantly. And, you know, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad, it's such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. You know, when I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries, so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got them back. We took in so many, the MS-13 is probably the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for Obama. They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either, not just illegals. So you can't have violent, repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated.
That's right.
Because they will obviously, by definition, continue to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You have one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for criminals.
Right. And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're smart people, and they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people, and they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight. Yeah. And I didn't need this. I'm like, I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. I didn't need to go through court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life. This is we're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop crime.
Like, the facts speak for themselves.
It's so incredible.
Speak for themselves. Like it's got to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of cities because they know nothing is going to happen. That's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. So it's just my values. I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is like we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation, and so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about. And that's the future I'm looking for. And I'm pro environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry because they're keeping civilization going right now. And but I do think we want to move a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, Elon. You don't hear. You're the American dream in the truest sense, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And you're going to hear about it. People, they need that incentive to go out and do it. And they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all where they have no money, where they literally have no money. And then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do some great things. And I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that. We rebuilt the military. We did so much. But I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things. The people, you learn. When I first came in, I tell people I was in Washington, D.C. only 17 times, according to the fake news media. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have, used them had I known. Now I know everybody. And I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. To me, it's been a lot of fun being with you. You're an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job and a great inspiration to people, a great inspiration. And I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up. And I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election. And I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And it's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you got a lot. I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Is that it? Is it over? Emily, brutal Emily. Brutal. Elon will not stand for this. I will simp for Elon. Is the space over, chat? Yep. Okay. Space is over. Okay, chat. Wow. Almost 3 hours. I did not think it was going to go that long. I thought it was going to be like an hour-long conversation. So for much longer, first thing I want to do, let me find my notes, chat. Wait for it. I am 2 martinis deep. These martinis have a lot of shots in them. So first thing I want to do is I want to thank all of the viewers. Wow, 11,000 views tonight. It's a lot of views. Did not expect that many people to be watching. Thank you very much for being in the stream and checking everything out. We had an amazing conversation. I didn't speak over anybody. I thought it was kind of rude because they were constantly speaking. So if you are watching this on the recording, check out the I put up the live comments so you can kind of watch the comments. People had some really funny stuff going on in the chat. Really appreciated it. 3 hours unscripted. Very impressive. So next thing I want to say is I'm going to Vegas next weekend. What? Normally I don't dox what I'm doing, but I do want to tell the CIA and the intelligence communities, please do not shoot down my plane. Please, I'm begging you. Russia, China, please do not shoot down my plane. I'm just doing normal people things. I love all people. Let me have my weekend in Vegas where I don't get my plane shot down. Okay, let's talk a few of these topics that were out there. Which one should we start with? I put some notes down here. First, let's talk with the violence thing. Okay, I saw Emily McKenzie in the chat. She's my favorite liberal follower that I've got that's out there. First thing I want to say is that I actually was a Democrat. So I'm going to admit something that's very hard for me to say right now. Please forgive me when I say this. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Ugh. Hard to say that, guys. I'm probably going to have that clipped in the future. I'm never going to be able to live it down. But I got better, guys. People can get better, okay? It's hard to push past the brainwashing. But the reason why I bring that up is like what Elon said at the end there was he was talking about how he sat in line for 6 hours. The messages in the chat right now. Yes, I know. It's horrible. Elon said that like he spent 6 hours waiting for a handshake from Barack Obama. Like I can relate to Elon Musk when he says stuff like that, because the truth is the Overton window has moved so far that at this point I've moved from being a Democrat to being a Republican. Technically I'm a libertarian, but let's be honest, there are no third parties in this country. And truthfully, I agree with Elon. Like we are in trouble if we have another 4 years of Kamala Biden bullshit going on. We've just reached a point where it's become full-on clown show, where we're at the point now where it's like people don't understand economics. Everything is some political bullshit narrative that doesn't change anything, So this is the reason why I'm really voting for Trump. It's not just because he survived an assassination attempt, which honestly, like, it's crazy that the media is just completely memory hold this. My man survived an assassination attempt. Dude had an AR-15, was shooting at him from 150 yards away. Basically an easy shot. Only survived because he moved his head. If this was if this was a Democrat president, we would be hearing about it nonstop. And the guy that did it donated to Act Blue as well, which is a Democrat super PAC situation as well. So it's like, wow. But the truth is, I'm not a big fan of Trump in terms of his personality. I think he's entertaining for sure, just like I think the WWE is entertaining. But I agree, he's probably a con man. He's probably screwed over a lot of people for sure. But he's a businessman. And sometimes you don't need somebody who's nice to lead your country. You just need somebody who's going to get the fucking job done. It's the same reason why I wish we had Vladimir Putin and not Joe Biden right now. Because even though he's a monster, he can lead a country. So that's the hard truth. When it comes to violence in the country, as some people pointed out in the chat, I've heard it. Emily's obviously spent some time on Reddit. I can tell. I can just tell, Emily, you spent some time on Reddit. Say, oh, crime is down. Crime is down. I mean, the thing when it comes to statistics is there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. You can make anything say anything you want when it comes to statistics. Okay, guys. And if you're not reporting the crimes, then the crimes don't get on the sheet, on the books. I don't believe anything when it comes to like crime statistics that are out there. What I do believe is I see videos every day of people just getting the shit beat out of them in the middle of the street. And a lot of times it's very liberal cities. Now, I also doxed myself. I said I moved from California to Minnesota. It's scary. I live near downtown. It's scary to go downtown at nighttime. Very scary. You do not want to be going downtown at nighttime. Simple as that. A lot of sketchy people, a lot of crime going on, a lot of homelessness that shouldn't happen. It's very sad. And that leads to my next thing, which is homelessness, which is we need to fix homelessness in the United States. We have proxy wars going on in the Ukraine. We have proxy wars going on in Israel. And we should be taking care of our own people in this country before we send $1, 1 penny to any other countries. 670,000 homeless people in this country alone, in the United States alone. And many of them are right near where I live. It's very sad, and we should not be living in that world. I think Jeremy Reese retweeted a video of China. Maybe it's not. If it's not him, I apologize. China has spent all their money on infrastructure, on making their country better. Why are we not doing that? Everywhere I go, it's shitty roads, shitty buildings, shitty bridges, shitty everything. It's like we need to spend the money on our own damn country. And you notice that we have, especially in these liberal places, like I moved from California, biggest homeless problem in the entire country, except for maybe Minnesota, which is also just out of control bad. The liberal states are not fixing the problem. You can't just throw money at the problem. It doesn't fix the problem. You need programs that work. Okay, so the next thing, inflation. Another reason why I support Trump is that inflation is out of control in the United States, completely out of control, and it's not a mystery. The reason why we've had out of control inflation in the last 4 years is because of all the spending bills, government spending bills related to COVID. It's 90% of it's related to COVID. Is that we paid people to stop working. We bailed out all these states that were collapsing, including California, because they just spent out of control on shit we didn't need to combat COVID. It's just a fucking cold virus. We didn't need to shut down the world for it. That's the reason why prices are up 50%, 100% for some food products. That's as simple as that. So if at the end of the day, like this is the reason why I'm going to vote for Trump, it's like at least he will stop the out of control spending that has direct consequences on what has been going on in the world in terms of what normal people and who does inflation hurt the most, as they talked about on this space today? The people that saved money, because now the money that you saved up, let's say you saved $100,000. And now let's just say hypothetically, everything's 50% more expensive. Now the money you saved up is 50% less useful than it was before. You can buy 50% less stuff than you could buy before. Terrible. Terrible. And then to shit on Trump for a second, if I was Trump, I would not have brought up COVID at all. Why would I not have brought up COVID at all? Because he didn't even advocate against it. He technically wanted to open up quicker, but he was still in support of all the lockdown bullshit. But then he was like, okay, well, after he realized after a month in May and end of April and May in 2020, he's like, okay, well, he realized how bad it was. But he was all on board I was in charge of Operation Warp Speed and making vaccines for cold viruses. That's where a lot of the money went. Do you know how much profits companies like Pfizer made? Like $40 billion in profit, not revenue, profit. This is where we were spending all the money. This is where the inflation came from. So Trump is not scot-free at all when it comes to COVID. Now, immigration, he brought up a great point during this space on immigration. We should be sending all our non-productives, which is a Rick and Morty reference, by the way. I'm going to watch that episode right after this. The non-productives, send them to another country. I actually wondered about that. He's like, oh, Venezuela is a great place now because they sent all their productives to the United States. And what happens? They come here and we're holding them up in hotels and giving them gift cards for all this stuff to buy. This is not a solution. You're just giving people money. It's a temporary solution. The long-term solution is these people need jobs. But the problem is our people need jobs. So the immigration issue is not a type of issue you can just sweep under the rug. It's only going to get worse and worse the more you try to sweep it under the rug. And I would agree. I haven't pinged a lot of the comments here, but we will never shut down again. There's not going to be another COVID in my lifetime. And the reason why is people remember the bullshit. and they will not stand for it again. And even the people that were supportive of lockdowns, like not the normal people, but like the government, the elite people, they already know how much damage it did, and they know we can't do it again. This is the reason why we won't have any other lockdowns again. This is just the truth, whether or not you want to accept it. Energy. Let's talk about some of the fun stuff. Now, neither of them on this call today was give me any confidence in energy and free energy and 0 point energy. Truthfully, I can't tell if Trump knows or not, doesn't know. These types of programs that know about this technology goes above the president, believe it or not, goes above the president. Now, does Obama know about MH370? Yes. The reason why Obama knows about MH370 is because he had to be read into it after it happened, because he had to go do the negotiations with like the prime minister of Malaysia, etc. But in general, I'm not even sure that the president necessarily is in a need to know basis for a lot of the operations that go down, especially when it comes to covert operations and stuff like that. The time they need to know is when it becomes a global issue and we got to go cover it up. So does Trump know? I'm not sure. Does Elon know? I'm not sure. I do know free energy is definitely real. It's just a matter of when we get it out to the public, and that's going to be the hardest part. Just saw a donation, a super chat. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. When is Dave Rossi coming back on? If you haven't noticed, like Salvatore Paez, Dave Rossi has been pretty quiet, and he hasn't been on social media at all either. So please keep in mind, Dave Rossi is a Department of Defense engineer. So sometimes some of these people can't really talk that much publicly. You begin to understand as well what we're really dealing with here, right? Like I got in an argument with a guy today talking about, oh, Hal Puthoff is he's a crank or whatever. And I'm like, dude, this is the rumor that I've heard from reputable sources. Hal Puthoff has been nominated for the Nobel Prize multiple times for his vacuum engineering scientific papers, which is basically everything that we've been talking about. So now you begin to understand, like a lot of these guys are socially awkward and they don't want to deal with all the disinformation and the idiots on social media. I am like in the thick of it when I'm arguing with everybody and anyone here and there about the stuff because I don't really care. So, and yeah, wow. If that wows you, yes, because I'm 2 martinis deep right now, and I'm not saying anything that I'm not supposed to say, but I am giving you guys a little bit of the inside sauce in terms of, you know, what's going on out there. There wasn't anything on the space today about UFOs or advanced technology at all. And we didn't get to finish up the John Ramirez interview, which we will do on Wednesday. We'll finish that up on Wednesday, guys, and we'll watch it. It's not that long. It's only like 30 minutes. Truthfully, guys, it wouldn't surprise me if we do have a reverse engineering program. I don't know if that means John Ramirez, we'll talk about it in the space. I don't know if that means there was something here long before us. It wouldn't surprise me. You know, this planet has been here a long time. Maybe there was something here before us. Maybe there still is. Or maybe we just developed it ourselves and the aliens are psyop. I truthfully do not know. What I do know is we can manipulate gravity. We already have the technology. And this is the reason why, like, even Trump is smart enough, if he does know, not to talk about it at all. These people will kill a president. 100%. There's like, that's just the level we're at. So when you guys talk about like, hey, Ashton, are you afraid? A little bit. Like when I'm making posts about please don't shoot down my plane and talking about please don't shoot down my plane, I'm a little tongue in cheek about it. But at the same time, it's kind of insurance for me because then if it does happen and I just made a post about it, all my conspiracy followers are going to go wild. And that does protect me to a certain degree. So to be perfectly honest with you guys, I am a little bit afraid about it. And that's the reason why I don't just blurt out everything I know, because I do know more in terms of what I've learned about gravity manipulation and free energy. And I try to give you guys as many hints. And if you read between the lines on some of my spaces, some of my streams, live streams, you can probably figure out more. Like take a good look at some of those papers in terms of some of the stuff they say in there. Okay. Uncle John Trump. Chris, thank you for the super chat. Yes, I actually have a video that I've had for a while with Uncle John Trump. Did you know that he was an electrical engineer as well? And he actually, like, I have a thing where he talks about how he looked at Tesla's patents or his like papers and all this stuff, which is pretty interesting. But the better thing is, like, in terms of We watched that video the other night. I think it was on Friday, Friday on the Free Energy stream. That video was even better. That, like, just reading Tesla's notes, it's better than papers and whatever else bullshit. We want to, like, listen to what Tesla literally said. I would recommend listening to that again, guys. Tesla knew what he was talking about. Okay. Lawfare. The other thing too, we've reached a point now where with lawfare perspective, like, in this country, we've lost a plot. Like, they were talking about how, like, police officers are getting the shit beat out of them. If you guys remember during COVID, all these police officers were quitting as well. It's a fine line between when do you allow for the police brutality versus, like, allowing people to fight back against, like, criminals. And I think we've crossed that paradigm now at this point, and we need to go back to a spot where, like, people are allowed to, shut down, like, straight up criminal behavior that's going on, because now we just let it happen. And I think that degrades the fabric of society, in my opinion. I have not seen the 23-minute video going back to the UFO topic. This is a topic where apparently in Lou Elizondo's upcoming book, which, by the way, I'm not going to buy and I'm not going to read, but I've already saw the part that I cared about. Apparently in this video, there's a triangle formation of some orbs or something like that, just like the MH370 videos. And this is why that 23-minute video will never see the light of day. Never see the light of day. In fact, they're probably not going to push any more videos out to the public, because I've now heard, and John Ramirez talks about it in the video we're going to watch on Wednesday, multiple people claiming to have seen orbs and stuff like that. I think there literally are these plasma orbs that we saw in those videos. I think they're all over the place. People have figured out how to make a floaty plasma orb. And John Ramirez talks about the United States intelligence. First thing they do is try to figure out, is it Russia? Is it China? Etc. So I don't know what the answer is going to be in all that. I think that from the MH370 video perspective, those are our orbs, because, like, we're filming the plane with a drone when these orbs come into play. But who knows? Who knows? Okay. Next topic. Oh, and I'm cooking, guys. We're based right now. We're based as shit. Let's see. Oh, the black market weed. Okay, are you guys ready for this? Okay, black market weed in California. So somebody mentioned that California used to be way better when weed was black market and not legal. And I thought about that for a second, because I lived in California. And spoiler alert, yes, I used to smoke weed. If this is a surprise to you, there you go. I've been very tongue-in-cheek about it. It's going to be the only admission I'm ever going to make, and I'm going to go back to pretending like I know nothing about it after this. It kind of was a lot better back then, actually. I lived in California before it became legal, and there would be these dispensaries everywhere, and it was so trivial. Everybody would have their, like, marijuana card, and you would go in, and it would be this kind of community-oriented thing. It was fun. It was legit, honestly, guys. I'm a rule breaker, guys. But the truth is this. I'll tell you the truth. I quit marijuana before all the MH370 stuff. I did not want to smoke any marijuana or do any drugs whatsoever while I was doing MH370 stuff, because I thought it could be used to discredit me. And also just, I don't think drugs are good in general. And I think people should try to avoid them when they can. So that's the truth, guys. There you go. Oh, hey, Ocean just jumped in and saw the confession. Saw the confession. Now you know, guys. Also, I'll go ahead and say that I was propositioned like 100 times during the Cosmic Summit, which I was super surprised by. I mean, literally, people would come up to me with a bowl with marijuana, like, "Hey, you want to go smoke?" I'm like, "Didn't I tell you I don't smoke?" Anyway, no more about that. Cosmic Summit was great, guys. Okay. Okay, next thing, guys. Kamala Harris will never do an interview with Elon Musk like that. One of the other things that they mentioned is they talked about, like, Kamala Harris nor Joe Biden could ever do a conversation like that. That was just like a conversation of two dudes chatting. I also thought it was a very good insight in terms of how presidents think and how billionaires think. Honestly, it was a little bit disappointing. I expected like a little bit more. It just kind of made me realize, like, they're not any better than we are. Like, honestly, we've pushed the boundary of the science and energy stuff way beyond them. In fact, I don't think they would even understand quantum mechanics and the stuff that we've been describing. So if you're out there and you're like, Ashton talks about all this quantum mechanics and physics stuff and it goes over my head, well, you're probably still better off than Elon Musk and Donald Trump, if it makes you feel any better. The stuff that we're talking about is super far beyond these guys. And Elon Musk is a smart dude. These are both smart guys. They don't think about that kind of stuff. And this is why it's so easy to hide the science, is that even guys that are really smart, they don't ever really spend the time to learn the science. And this is why it becomes so easy to hide. Because if nobody understands how the science works, then you can just make up some bullshit and convince people. Or be like, oh, they're just talking nonsense. Ignore that. And you're like, no, this is real quantum mechanics. Like, yes, tunneling is a real thing. We can literally just phase through a barrier. And most people are like, no, that's fake. Right? Like, this is the reason why it's so hard for people to understand quantum mechanics, the history of suppression of science, and what we're capable of. And now there's like 100 people in the chat saying they would smoke marijuana with me. Which I appreciate, you guys. Appreciate it. Maybe at some point it will happen. Guys, if I go on Joe Rogan, I'm going to be faded. Faded if I go on Joe Rogan. Anyway. And if you haven't smoked for a long time and you smoke, oh boy, you just get ripped. You get ripped, chat. Okay. I would also love to smoke with Salvatore Paez, although I don't think he smokes. And Dave Rossi, actually. Both those guys would be amazing to smoke with. Okay. Enough marijuana talk, guys. Enough marijuana talk. Oh, we in proposition right now, chat. Bring out the marriage of hooches. Inject the marriage of hooches into my vein. Okay, we're almost done, guys. Only a couple more topics. I do think that Elon Musk should challenge Kamala Harris to an X space. Like, that's just a no-brainer move. Tomorrow morning, if I'm Elon Musk, first thing I do when I wake up is I say, Kamala Harris, I'm giving you the same opportunity I gave Elon Musk. Here you go. We can have our X space next week, tomorrow, whatever, just to shit on her. I mean, because A, first of all, we know he supports Elon Musk. Second of all, there's no chance she's going to accept it. And for the third reason, like, she has to come up with some statement, some excuse why she won't do it. And no matter what she says, it's going to look bad. Even if she lies, it's going to look bad. So if I'm Elon Musk, first thing I'm doing tomorrow morning, my first tweet is, here you go, Kamala. You can have the same chance. We'll have an X space with you. And then she might have to do it. Honestly, she might have to. Because what can you say? You just say, like, you're not going to do it and you're going to pussy out? I don't know. This is a smart move. I think that America needs to focus on superconductors and engineering. America has just fallen super far behind, guys. Like, I told you guys earlier on the stream that I was looking at Salvatore Paez's magnetic confined. What is it? I have it up here somewhere. Plasma compression fusion device enabling nuclear fusion ignition. Salvatore Paez's patent for that one. That's one of the lesser known patents from Salvatore Paez. And when you look at the people who are referencing it, it's all Chinese people. These are not Americans. Ling Kun Kong, En Ping, Chu Yang Ding, like Li Yuan Zhang, like Yu Shaon Zhao, like these are all Chinese people. Like, we are literally going to fall behind in the advanced technology race if we do not wake the F up and get this shit disclosed. The Chinese are taking it very seriously, and they are going to pass us up. They're going to pass us up on free energy. They're going to pass us up on gravity manipulation. This is also probably why we zapped the plane away. Like, just simple as that. Like, they're going to catch up and they're going to pass us up. So, like, that's what people need to focus on. Like, I wish that was an actual topic that people were talking about. Like, even if you talk about it from the perspective of, like, I botched all the names, Charlie. I know I did. Okay. Even if they talk about it from the perspective of just like advanced technology and they just like use buzzwords and dog whistles, like, fine. But at the same time, like, that we need to focus on that. We need to have the best engineers or we are going to get left behind. Simple as that, guys. We're going to get left behind. Okay, we already talked about the violence. I think violence is not down at all, despite of what we were taking before, despite Emily McKenzie in the chat. Love you, Emily. I don't think violence is down. I think that it's a lot of gaslighting. Same thing as what we've got control over inflation. No, we don't. Inflation's out of control as well. Like, These are things that really hurt people on the bottom line that we need to fix up, guys. And also, by the way, Trump just called me. He just sent me a text message. He said that Emily McKenzie's going on a terrorist watch list when he becomes president. She's not going to be allowed in the United States. I'm just kidding, Emily. Just kidding, yo. I don't know if she's even still watching anymore. Okay. She was really ripping into his lisp and his thing. Okay. Yeah. And so the last thing again, guys, is Democrat or Republican. I don't care who you vote. What I want to say, just closing this up, we had a lot of people. I'd say the chat was mostly people who are on the Republican side, but there were some people on the Democrat side as well. And that's fine. In fact, I don't think I've ever blocked anybody for a political opinion before. I've blocked people that just go off go nuts and start just attacking me or what have you. But I don't think I've ever blocked anybody for a political opinion. Because at the end of the day, it's all bullshit, guys. Both of these people, both politicians on any of the teams or whatever, are 100% controlled by the intelligence communities. The intelligence communities are the ones that actually run the show. Everything else is just like, which person is your favorite person you want to have listen to when they go give a speech or talk to the media, right? That's really what it boils down to. Is Trump going to reveal free energy and teleportation? No, no chance. Is the world going to all of a sudden become a perfect place? No, absolutely not. But hopefully things will get a little bit better for the small guy who right now is just being completely screwed. The homeless situation is out of control. Food prices are out of control. Crime is, in my opinion, out of control. I think the immigration situation has gone just straight up clown shoes world. You know, we don't need to let and pay for every single person to come into this country. These are things that they impact the bottom line. You know, they take jobs away from people. So, you know, if that's going to help people, then that's the way I'm going to personally vote. But I think that everybody should go out there and vote and give their opinion, and that's how a democracy should work, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. This was an awesome conversation that we had. Super long stream. It was pretty sweet. So Wednesday, we are going to talk about science once again. We're going to watch the John Ramirez video. We'll probably watch it over. We'll look at some of that as well. I can't remember what the topic was going to be. I had a topic, but I had a couple martinis and I forgot. But we'll have another fun topic on Wednesday as well. It might be a combination of free energy because Friday there will be no stream. Like I said, I'm going to be out of town. I'm taking a little bit of a break. I'm going to play some poker finally. Somebody asked me earlier today if I've had any weird dreams. Weirdly, I've been dreaming about poker like every other night. So I got to get out there. I got to get to the poker tables. I got to get out there and try to win some money or whatever. So hope you guys had a great one, guys. This has been awesome. Everybody, MHG70X. Have a great night, guys. Love you all. This was sweet. Let's do it again sometime soon. Peace.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeeze so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play. generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism, plates so fine. Spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plates, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear. Exploring the cosmos, our future